Okay, this video is about Don Troiani. He's a magnificent artist, historical artist. This is him, Don Troiani. He's an American. He's born in about 1949. This is one of his many books. He does especially military art in his paintings. And I used to think there weren't that many great artists anymore, but what I now think is that there are great artists, but no one knows about them. You got all these stupid, worthless museums of modern art, which are really just for laundering, you know what, dinero. But these magnificent artists exist, but hardly anyone knows about them. So anyways, this is one of his many books. I'm going to show you some of his paintings. They're great. I've been kind of going through all my art books here. I own about 200 art books. This is one of his books about the Revolutionary War. This one is called Liberty. This is the Battle of Bunker Hill. You know, wait until you see the whites of their eyes, and you know, it's magnificent. You can see magnificent detail, magnificent historical accuracy. And you know, one of the biggest regrets of my life is that I didn't learn how to draw well. I mean, what an extension of your creative expression to be able to draw well. You know, we wasted so much time in stupid schools memorizing vocabulary lists of words that you're just going to forget the next day when we could have been learning, you know, how to draw. I wish I learned how to write poetry when I was young, because that's the best form of expression. And I wish I learned how to play piano or guitar. Guitar is nice because you can carry it with you. Piano is just magnificent, sort of the center of music. But anyways, I'll show you some more of these paintings. They're magnificent. He's like awesome military artist. Here is one of his books about Civil War. He wrote several about the Civil War, and you can just see, again, the historical details, magnificent. So, you know, the guy was a great historian. His parents knew something about these things, and that also helped get him started. It's real important that, I wouldn't say it's important, but it's nice if kids get a lot of information from their parents. They can learn stuff. My parents were great people, but they were, you know, fuzzy foreigners, didn't really know how to prepare me. They both were very poor themselves growing up, so they weren't able to be aware of so many things. Okay, anyways, here is another one of his books about Civil War, and you can see how brave. This is a typical bravery of the Confederates. You know, this guy is just, you know, has a sword, you know, going up against these guys with firearms. He's screwed. Okay, here is the Boston Massacre from like 1770. I think it was around 1770, 1775. I don't remember the exact date. When basically what had happened was there was like a British soldier went to the barber and didn't pay his bill, so the barber was real pissed off and made a big fuss about it. And then, you know, one of the British soldiers hit the barber, and one thing led to another, and pretty soon a mob had surrounded the British, and the British opened up on them. And that was a pretty famous thing, and John Adams got involved in it, and he even was defending. So this is just one of the other. And the regular paintings are even better than the ones that I have here. Here's the Battle of Lexington. I own several of his books. They're magnificent. I own a bunch of his books. The Battle of Lexington. My scanner is not currently working, though, so I can't scan pictures. Here is, again, the Battle of Bunker Hill. And I'm just showing you a couple samples. There's hundreds of them. Here's Nathan Hale. I think he was like a professor at Yale or something. He said, I have but one life to give for my country. I regret that I have but one life to give for my country. These guys were really brave and heroic, man. Here's the Battle of Fort Washington. Don Troiani, when the German Hessian mercenaries overran the fort of Washington's men. This lady, Margaret Corbin, her husband was killed, and then she helped out with the cannon. That's part of the picture to show that, you know, the woman helped. GW should have retreated sooner. He learned a lesson from this, though, you know. GW ended up being great. Here's the Irish Brigade by Don Troiani. Again, just a magnificent panoramic painting. And, you know, I talked about it in my previous. I gave a lecture recently, a video on Civil War art. And it showed, you know, the Irish, they're so brave, but they're so stupid fighting each other, you know, and hoping that's going to somehow help Ireland. I don't think it helped Ireland too much. It made them a lot more respected in America. People didn't have that high opinion of them, you know, like the Irish don't apply, because it was largely Protestant. They were Catholic, they were foreigners, etc. And they call them papist, popish, and all that stuff. Southern Soldiers by Don Troiani. Again, you know, the bravery of these guys was incredible, but the stupidity also. They were outnumbered, you know, 4-1. The North had about 21 million people. The South had about 5 million people. And on top of it, the North had unlimited reinforcements coming in from Europe as mercenaries. They often would have, the South would capture prisoners who didn't even speak English. Okay, here's the Irish Brigade, again by Don Troiani. This one was a little bit interesting. The Indiana Regiment, they were called the Black Hats, and that reminded me, of course, of Lew Wallace, who was from Indiana. He became a general, and he's the guy who was disgraced because they said he didn't follow instructions correctly to arrive where he was supposed to be for the Battle of Shiloh. He claims that the instructions he was given were, confusing, and that's what happened. So, anyways, he ended up trying to redeem himself, and he did by writing Ben-Hur, which was the most popular book of the whole 1800s. Actually, the most popular book in the USA up until 1936 when Gone with the Wind came out. So here's another one of his paintings, the Southern Cross at Glendale, Don Troiani. Here's the Men of Arkansas at the Battle of Shiloh. That's the battle where Lew Wallace was felt to have not shown up on time where he was supposed to be. Lots of guys died. I forget the number of guys died. Many thousands on both sides. It's a disaster. But whenever there was attrition, that would favor the North because they had tons more guys. So here's Jeb Stuart, the cavalryman, another brave guy. And we talked about this before in my lecture on the South, how the South loved their guys because they were all these battles. They were in Southern territory, almost every single one of them. And so, the South was invaded. They were defending their homes. Okay, here's Stonewall Jackson at Chancellorsville, and even though they won, he was killed in that battle, unfortunately. And he, that was a big downfall moment for the South. Here is Major General Forrest. He was a great cavalryman, kind of like a great Fabian strategist, trying to take supply lines of the North. And here is the boy colonel of the Confederates. And the gist of this is that the Confederates were screwed. They had nobody to replace their guys when their guys were lost. So they kept in bringing younger and younger guys and all these old men. Whereas the North, it was easy for them to replace any losses. Okay, so this just shows how destitute the South is and how the South pretty much got wiped out. Anyways, magnificent art of Don Troiani. Hope that was interesting.